What?
Street talk this
Street
week,
talk
everybody.
time.
What was happening in Coronation Street this week for our 500th episode? Well, we were going to tell you because we started off with a harrowing storyline of Summer and Daniel.
Oh,
You didn't like this one, did you?
No.
You're a little bit terrified.
Yeah.
But don't worry, nobody's going to fall in love with me. It's fine. I'm far too strict and horrible. I don't like poetry or anything. This is the Summer Crush story, which we're going to be starting off Street
I
Talk
should
with
hope
this
not,
week.
because you don't teach children this age.
No. Next up, we're going to have the Phill, Mimi, Fizz, Tyrone storyline. Is it Mimi or is it Beryl? I don't know. We can have a storyline title for each, I thought. I'm a celebrity. Get Mimi out of here.
Yeah.
Or Beryl the Peril, which is comic book character.
So we started off with Mimi and Coco, and we ended up with Beryl and Eric.
Yes, exactly. It's sad. I think she's gone now.
I know, she was great.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about her in a minute. Then we had a right hash job, and they have made a right hash job of this whole thing after tonight's twist, haven't they? Or actually, I thought we just recently had Tashes to Ashes, didn't we? But now we have Hashes to Ashes.
Okay.
And you know, if he is a observant Muslim, then he's got to get.
Oh, that's
right
true.
down to
Yeah.
get cremated
That's a good
straight
question,
away.
actually. If you're investigating a crime, if there's anything
how it
suspicious about his death.
Yeah, they've got to find about it soon.
Oh.
Then we have got a bit more of the case of the Munchers
Well.
with Curtis's Munchausen syndrome, or what's it called?
Facetious.
Factitious disorder.
Factitious.
Not facetious. It's something different.
I was just saying, if they suspect that there was something foul afoot with Hashim's death, and they hold up his cremation, is that what it's cremation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe the family will get annoyed and try to get revenge, because the family know that the sons are the ones that burned the place down. Do they think they're just going to give up now?
I don't know. We'll find out when we get there. We then got the Grace has gone this week as well. Not just Mimi, but Grace. Is a bit
Mimi and
sad.
Grace.
A little bit sad about that. The Grace period is over.
Oh.
I'm going to call this. Thank you. And Sarah Lou's pregnant again or something. Well, she's not pregnant. Is that
She's got
storyline?
fluttering in her uke.
Right. I'm going to talk about the Summer Crush storyline, Gemma. And all the drama that happened there this week. So we had the ice ball on Monday, didn't we?
Wow,
Sixth
ice
form
ball.
ice ball that was fully attended by all 20 members of the Weatherfield
The
High
Weatherfield WhatsApp
sixth form.
Facebook group.
So we got Asha, Amy, and Summer all organising it. Daniel's there helping as well. Somebody mentions, I can't remember who it was, to Summer, how did you get home from school the other day? And she says, I just got a lift from someone. So she's still hiding the fact that she got a lift in Daniel's car. Mr. Osborne's car, sorry. Meanwhile, Max is digging for more information about this lift because he, remember, saw Summer getting out of the car and he did a little film with it. I don't know what he saw exactly because we didn't, when he spread his video around everyone's phones on Monday night, we didn't see everything that was being shown, did we? Like, he didn't have the best of evidence.
No, he didn't. He just had as far as I know, he literally just had Daniel talking to Summer out of his car door, like.
But there was that. There was the old energy bar thing, and there was a hand on the shoulder.
And the
It's
poem.
it's not the most compelling evidence. Anyway, he's trying to do a bit of digging. Is Max, and he's saying, "Oh, is it someone you were dating that took you home? Is it Summer?" And she said, "Look, it's none of your business, actually," which is true because she's his mentor. I can't remember how many years is it between them. 3-4 years maybe between Summer and Max. I can't
They
remember.
look the
Maybe
same
it's
age
not
to
even
me
that
now, I'm
many.
afraid.
Well, they're definitely not the same age because, as we know, Summer is actually in her mid-20s if we look at her actress, but never mind. Anyway, Amy sees, she's on her phone and she sees, oh, look, Daisy's got 1,000 likes on this post. She's there with her striker boyfriend, Ashley. And then the conversation kind of turns to Daniel and how he was punching above his weight with Daisy. And someone says, hang on a minute, geeks can be hot too, you know. What about podcasters, Can they?
They're rubbish.
Podcasting geeks? No. Anyway, she's not that I'm saying Mr. Osborne's hot, of course. Oh, no. So later on, and they're still getting ready for this ball, and then
It's trying to sit up.
it's just go.
Sorry.
There we go. How you go? They're getting rid of this ball. Summer has a little dizzy spell because she's got diabetes and everything. Daniel goes over to see her. He's a bit concerned, and Max sees him touch her arm. See, that's what you see. And he does a little photo of that.
No, he
little
touches
video.
her arm.
Yeah, he touches her arm. That's what I said.
I thought you said she touches
No.
his arm.
Max looks hacked off by this, so he leaves his camera running on Daniel and Summer as they chat, and then Daniel brings Summer a little energy bar, slips it into her bag. And then so back home later, Max is looking over all this footage together, and he's like, I'm gonna make a banger of a film out of this. He's gonna be sent down, Mr. Osborne.
It's gonna be
no
like
more
the new
homework
loose
for me.
change.
Yeah, what's that?
It's that conspiracy theory.
Okay.
About 9/11.
It's gonna be the new Who Made the Sinkhole video, he thinks. So
Who made the sinkhole?
Max,
There should be a theme tune.
Max gets Summer's bag later. He raids it because they're all left in the only classroom in the school. I'm starting to feel they need to. Is it are they filmed in an actual school? Is it a set? I know I said the other day it looked like it was maybe a repurposed Weatherfield general set.
You did say
didn't
that.
I would.
It's a very good set.
It is. It looks good. It's got lots of grammar on the wall.
Yeah.
But it does appear that it's
there.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. Ways to do persuasive languages up there. No, it seems like it's the only classroom in the school, and there's only about 3 children in the class. I don't know why people are going off to Oak Hill, because you can get real
quality teaching,
quality small class sizes.
But some might say
just in the local comprehensive.
It's too intensively one-on-one.
Yeah, just a little bit, just a little bit. So anyway, he's having a look through a bag. He finds the energy bar and the poem, that love poem, that the sonnet that Daniel had left in there last week. And he looks kind of sad, bless him, because he does have a thing for Summer, but he also looks kind of mad as well. So later on, the ball is in full swing. Max is trying to spike the lime slushy with vodka. He's a bit tipsy, isn't he? Then he has a go at Daniel because Daniel comes over and he kind of has a go at him for abusing his position and says, "You've been taking advantage of the year 12 and 13 girls." Daniel's like, "What are you going on about?" And Max says, "I know, you've been sleeping with Summer and you're a big perv. You've been found out." So Daniel goes over to Summer saying, "Somebody says that we're having a secret clandestine relationship. Let's go and have a private word in the darkened corner over there. Then nobody will suspect us anymore." He says what Max has been saying, how he's been threatening to tell people. This needs to be nipped in the bud right now. So Summer then has a go at Max, who's massively drunk by this point, and says, "Look, you are way off with what you said. Are you jealous or something? You got some kind of stupid crush on me, you pathetic little boy." And then we have the closing speech for the ball. Max comes to the mic and accuses Daniel publicly of having it off with Summer, punches him in the face for good measure, and then just for the icing on the cake of the ice ball, he sends a video of Daniel being dodgy or something to the ice ball WhatsApp group, or I don't know. I assume that's what it was. I saw lots of people on Twitter saying, "How has Max got everybody's phone number?" But
I've also heard people saying that's very common for children to have like year group.
But they're not in the same year group. This is the thing. Max is infiltrating the 6th form ball. I don't know why they even let him in. Why did they have this little scrote of a GCSE student? Or not even GCSE yet. Has he even taken his options? I can't remember.
Like in the end, no, I don't understand. What age are they then?
Well, Max is a couple of years younger than
I know
Summer,
you said
because
that already.
he's the school's promising audio-visual prodigy. That he's been
18, 17, 18.
Yeah.
So he's like 15, 14, 15.
Yeah, something like that. I don't get why they would let... Is nobody doing media studies at A-level that could maybe video this?
Maybe they're like...
Daniel believes in him.
Well, he's been recast now and he looks older. I'm not going to ask how old he is. Because it would be embarrassing like that time the twins suddenly grew a year.
Anyway, let's not ask any questions about this because Daniel's dodgy video is out there. Wednesday, and I thought this storyline was great on Wednesday, and I can see you were there kind of watching with your fist in your mouth almost going, "Oh, what if?" So Daniel's...
Michael, stop making out.
Well, no, you're just saying you were worried, weren't you, that about horrible accusations being made.
I know, but I don't want anyone to get the impression that there's any reason for me to worry about it.
No, there's not. No, there's of course there's not.
I know, but you keep talking about it like...
No, it's not. Anyway, Daniel's telling Ken that Mrs. Croshaw... No, I've written Mrs. Croshaw here, but I had to explain this to you, didn't I?
You did.
Is anybody else... Maybe this is going to be news to some listeners as well, but the deputy head at the school is not called Mrs. Croshaw. She's called Mrs. Crawshaw, and I didn't even know that was a name. I've never heard of that. But because they're all speaking in their northern accents, I thought they were saying, "Oh, Mrs. Crawshaw." To me, Mrs. Crawshaw. But no, she's actually Crawshaw.
Crawshaw doesn't sound right.
Crawshaw.
Crawshaw.
Mrs. Crowshaw. Anyway, she's having a chat. She's going to be having a chat with Daniel later. The head's just washing his hands of this whole matter, isn't he? Mr. Griffin, the head at Weatherfield High, he's like, you deal with this underling.
Don't deal with dirty
I think maybe he's on sabbatical or something, but it certainly seems that there's only the deputy in charge at the moment. Daniel's refusing Adam's help. He says, I don't need a lawyer, didn't do anything, we just need to get this nipped in the bud, basically.
Surely it's the people that didn't do it that need the lawyers more.
I don't know, I kind of think that if I was ever wrongly accused of something, I can imagine myself being like Daniel and saying, no, I don't need anyone, I just tell everyone the truth and I'll be absolutely fine. Don't you think?
No, if I was accused of something, for some reason, I have it in my head that this will be something I need to think about for the future.
You reckon?
But I'm pretty sure that I'd immediately find a solicitor, the best one possible, and I'd be like, help me, I didn't do anything.
I think that
listen, help me, I didn't do it, but I've got such a guilty face, and I've been waiting for something terrible to happen to me my whole life.
I think I just trust in the efficacy of the British justice system, and that would be absolutely fine. However, I suppose that Daniel has got the Weatherfield justice system that he's going to be contending with, so... You know, the odd person has been sent down when they're innocent in the past. So maybe
it's not about whether you did it or you didn't do it. It's about whether you can prove it.
Right. Anyway, we then get a scene of Victoria Gardens. I don't know why it was happening here, but why Billy chooses this particular locale to ask Summer for her side of the story. Why not at home?
Same reason why Daniel chose a quiet corner of the party to talk to Summer about accusations of inappropriate behaviour that had been made against him.
Do you reckon?
What's his face? Billy says, we need to have a very private conversation about something very delicate and where nobody can overhear us. So let's go sit in. Not only is it a park, but it's on the corner. And not only is it on the corner, so people from two different roads, it's also right by the co-op. Yeah. So everyone's going in and out. And also, you can't really tell who is behind the fence a lot of the time because of all the hedges. We'll just sit here where we can't tell if people are listening to us and hope that nobody overhears our very private conversation.
Well, I wondered
about whether the teacher's been feeling you up.
I wondered whether it was because, you know, the set, their flat set wasn't on... on the rotation or however it worked. But they did actually use it. And then I thought, was it so that Paul could come wading in? But actually... He lives there.
He lives with Daniel.
Oh yes. I've lost track.
I think
is Billy with anybody at the moment?
I don't know, but I said to you before that we need to have a. Now we've had 500 episodes. Maybe we can invest in this. But one of those like Churchill's bunker style maps with people's characters,
I think
and we can push them around with one of those wooden.
It felt like
claws.
Back in the spring. We couldn't breathe for another scene of Billy and Todd and Paul and who's going off with who.
Who's going out with.
And now it's like, I don't know. So Billy isn't going out with anyone at the moment.
Now.
So that's why.
Sure? Is he not going out with Todd?
Is he going out with...
He's definitely not going out with Paul.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
That's really bad. We should know. We've done 500 episodes of the podcast.
But anyway,
that's why they did it in Victoria Gardens. So Paul could come wading in going, rah, rah, rah. You were groomed, mate. And then Billy tells him to back off. So
I know a lot of people didn't like Paul this week, but I thought he was very. This made total sense to me.
It made sense for his character, but it didn't help me like him anymore.
Everyone was moaning and saying, "Oh, he's just seeing what he wants to see." He's, because obviously he's had experience of being groomed and he didn't know he was being groomed. But at the same time, we're all seeing what we want to see based on our experiences. He's only doing the same as we are, except his experiences, you don't know you're being groomed. And our experiences is, well, I think I'd know if I was.
Yeah, but does he have to be so gruff about it?
If you thought that your, stepdaughter was being molested by an arrogant arsehole, the likes of which is Daniel Osborne... I'll be furious.
Anyway, later on, David and Max are there with Mrs. Crawshaw. And
Mrs.
Crawshaw.
Mrs. Crowdad.
She wants to know what makes him think there's a relationship going on between Daniel and Summer. And David, throughout this, he is sticking up for Max, isn't he? I don't get it.
This was very...
Doesn't he know that his son is a massive scrote?
There was a couple of weird characterizations this week. One of them was, this is left over from last week though, too, as well though. David acting like 1 minute that Max is the devil incarnate, and the second minute acting as though he speaks only the truth, like some kind of cursed monkey's paw or something.
Well, he's mostly been on his side, hasn't he? I mean, I know there was that bit a few weeks ago when Max took a swing at David, but it feels very, convenient to the story that Max is completely blind to his son's failings.
The other thing is the other character, of course, I'm talking about is Alia.
Mm?
I said 2 characters are acting.
Yeah, what was going on with Alia today? We'll talk about her later. Anyway, later on, basically this little bit of the episode, which I quite enjoyed, was a back and forth of the 2 interviews, wasn't it? It was Crusher talking to David and Max, and then Crusher talking to Daniel, and then Crusher talking to Max and David again. They're going back and forth.
This was very well put together.
I thought it was jolly well put together. So. Daniel was protesting his innocence. He's like, no, it wasn't me.
I didn't do nothing.
I didn't do nout, Mrs. Quirthar.
Oh, so you did do something.
And then it's Summer's turn to get grilled. She is adamant, at this point in the episode, that Daniel acted completely appropriately at all times. Paul's in there sitting in with them for the interview. That was the other thing that made me confused. So if he's... What's it to do with him?
Who?
Paul. Why was he there when Summer was... Because he hung around with her for a little bit.
Yeah, but he thinks of her as his daughter, kind of.
Does he?
She's got like 3 dads. No, she's got 4 dads and one of them's dead. Actually, didn't Drew have a partner?
Yeah, maybe.
How many dads can one woman have? It's just greedy. Some people don't have any. Anyway, I assume he's in there because he's like, I'm an expert.
He's in there so that he can be grumpy for a little bit more. So they go back home, and Paul brings it up when Daniel had someone mysterious in his flat the other week. He's like, oh, I reckon that must have been Summer that was in there then. And he's completely convinced that these allegations are true. Billy isn't. He says, look, he says to Paul, you're just seeing what you want to see. And Paul's like, rah, I don't want to see that. What are you saying? Don't
be so mean. He's... Oh. Look, we can only interpret the world through our experiences and try to make sense of things based on previous experiences and stuff. And he's had experience of this and he didn't realise for years.
I know, he just needs to say it a bit nicer.
But in a way, Summer's sort of groomed herself here.
Yeah, a little bit. She comes home later, she gets a grilling from Paul who says... and she says, well, there was nothing physical between us. It was emotional.
I know, and this is where she started,
like, goes on and saying, yeah, he did love me, actually. It was electric.
But where...
1 minute was discussing poem, the next was just connect.
But where does that... I can't remember where that ends up. Does Summer ever realise that she's talking absolute bollocks?
Well, by the end of it, she's kind of backs down on it, doesn't she?
But she never went... I can understand how she gradually started to believe after everyone starts telling her, this has happened. She might be like, oh, yeah, well, I was hoping that it did, and now everyone's telling me that it did. It must have done.
I think through a lot of this, she was convinced that Daniel was interested in her, and then she would like see him with Daisy and think, oh, he's cheating on me with... I think in her head, it was obviously a lot more than it actually was. But it felt odd to me that, when she was talking to Croshaw, that she was saying, no, he was completely appropriate. And then to Paul, she says...
No, that makes sense because she's trying to protect him.
Oh, yeah, I suppose so.
But, yeah, she never went, oh, actually, now I think about it.
Paul says this is textbook grooming. And I say, don't groom your textbooks.
Unless it's that book of monsters from Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah, the one that, the little strokey book. Police officer comes to number 1 to take Daniel away. What's that? Alexa's talking to us in the other end of the house. Sorry. He's looking worried. Ken says, don't worry, you've done nothing wrong, son. So in the interview, Daniel's starting to get a little bit sarky about the whole thing. He says, look, Summer is just a family friend. She was a babysitter, but that is it. he's asked about this poem, and he said, yes, it's just a poem. I was just writing out a poem from memory to her. I thought it would help her with her coursework or whatever. And they're like, don't you think that's slightly strange? And I'm like, no, I was just trying to help. And then he has to tell the officer that this lady hiding in the flat was actually Daisy. And he's definitely starting to get worried at this point that his career is over before it's barely begun.
If he wants to do this sort of thing, he needs to get super fat, super bald, and super old, and then he can write love letters to as many teenage girls as he likes, and nobody's going to care.
Another officer.
Because it's not, let's face it, it's not like he's got a sparkling personality, is it?
Another officer goes to Billy's flat later to talk to Summer, and he was like, was it you who Daniel had in his flat last week? And she's at this point she realizes, oh, he had somebody else in his flat last week. It wasn't me. So she kind of realizes at this point that maybe there isn't 2 women on the go. Maybe there isn't anything. Maybe I'm not quite so special.
Oh no.
Then we have one of many confrontations between Daniel and the Platts in the street later. He kind of strides over to Max, says, oh, you tried to destroy me. David sends Max inside and stands up for him, although he says, yeah, well, also he's been suspended for punching you.
It would have made more sense if there had been a bit more of grief between Daniel and David before this happened.
Yeah. They go inside. Daniel has a go at Paul, who also happens to be handily walking past. Again, more handy walking past this week. Paul says, yeah, you stay away from Summer. Daniel kind of slopes home, telling Tracy and Steve, oh, I'm finished. Ken, meanwhile... later on, sorry. He's trying to look at the matter from all angles, isn't he? Tracy's kind of sticking by Daniel and saying, no, he's been accused. It wasn't him. This is outrageous. And Ken's kind of saying, well, you did give her a lift home that one time and you did put a poem in her bag, and he's kind of picking out all the things that Daniel's done that maybe if he thought about it, you might have thought, yeah, they told me in my teacher training college I shouldn't really been doing this with teenage girls. And this made me think of back in the 60s. Ken also had a crush on him, didn't he? From a woman.
Ken had a girl. He had a crush on him.
Yeah, exactly. There was this. We saw one episode of this a couple of years ago, and it was this character called Rita Spears, and it was this. I think it's just been about Summer's age as well, actually. But she was only in it for about 4 episodes in 1963, and she's got a crush on Ken, who's her teacher at the time. He twigs onto it pretty quickly though, because he's clearly got a bit more nous than Daniel, and sends her on her way. And then she goes off and dates Jerry Booth for an episode. Then he finds out that she's only 15 or whatever, and that's the last we see of Rita Spears. But I'd have thought Corrie, he could have made Ken remember back to old Reet, but no, never mind. So Daisy then later on sees... Oh no, sorry, I missed a bit. Tracy goes over to Billy and Summer, doesn't she? She has a go at them in the street. She says, I'm chucking you out of the flat because apparently I own the flat that you live in. I remember that she used to own the shop below, didn't she? But I can't remember who owns what properties anymore. But anyway, you're out. Paul gets involved, makes it worse, saying that he reckons Daniel did do it. Summer goes off crying, and this is where Daisy finds her in Victoria Gardens later, and Summer admits that, it was, I just misread the signs. Well, she says there were no signs. Daniel really was just being helpful for me. And Daisy sympathises with her and says, yeah, it was me that was in the flat that time. Yeah, we were dating. We were having a bit of a secret relationship. Summer is crying through the whole thing of this and says, oh, I thought me and Daniel would be together. Now he's going to hate me for the rest of my life. So the episode ends with Daisy going over to see Daniel, saying what Summer's told her. Why didn't you twig that Summer had a crush on him, though? You blurred the lines, Daniel, by inviting her into your home, etc., etc. And Ken's like, yep, you're right, Daniel. This is kind of your fault. What's going to happen on Friday? Well, it seems that it all kind of gets solved fairly easily, apart from poor Max, who's
he's in trouble.
He's potentially permanently excluded for this. I mean, I don't know whether that was a bit of an overreaction.
Well, no, it's because he hit the teacher.
But... Yeah,
he wasn't. He's not excluded for being.
He hit the teacher and refused to show any kind of
You're supposed to hit the teacher and go.
Not sympathy. What's the word?
Remorse?
Remorse, that's the word I'm thinking.
So to hit the teacher and then go, whoops.
Yeah, but he didn't. So he has to apologise for hitting Daniel. He's clearly not he doesn't care. He's written this half-assed apology that David and Shona aren't at all impressed with. Who'd have thought that the guy who was able to write that sparkling script for the sinkhole video couldn't even come up with a half-decent apology? Summer comes over. She has a massive go at him. What if Oxford has heard about this? They'll never let me in.
Tell you what.
The evidence is building up, isn't it? First she gets a credit in the sinkhole video. Now she gets accused of being... Well, not accused. She gets... embroiled in this teacher relationship thing. Oxford's like, we don't care.
Oxford's like, we watch EastEnders down here.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't watch Coronation Street.
Meanwhile, Daniel's lying low.
I love the fact that she thinks there's like some kind of evil spy master network of like
Oxford spies just everywhere.
Like, we must dispatch our greatest espionage expert to Weatherfield to uncover the truth. This Weatherfield girl looks far too good to be true.
They get a lot of applications, don't they? They got to whittle them down somehow.
I know. It's like she's the best candidate they've ever had. There's got to be something wrong with her. Surely nobody can be this perfect.
She's got diabetes.
She's been into robots since she was 3, but she doesn't really know what a robot is.
Meanwhile, Daniel's lying low at home. He's on the phone to Adam, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm not really allowed in school at the moment." Adam tells Sarah that I'm worried about what could happen to him.
We're going to have to prevent Mr. Osborne from coming into school. But what about his workload? Oh, he didn't actually do anything.
No,
I think we can cover
those 3 children that he had in his class, they can just be absorbed into one of the other ones and they'll be fine.
Just write your own poetry down.
So Max, David and Shona are with Crawshaw later on. This is when Max has a chance to apologise and says, well, actually, I'm glad I hit Mr. Osborne. And Crawshaw says, right, I'm going to make you're not only temporarily excluded, I'm going to speak to the governors and you're out for good, mate. So back on the street, David has another go at Daniel because it's your fault that my son is going to be expelled. And then later on in the episode we find out that the case against Daniel has been dropped. Hooray. And I thought that came far too quickly, considering that had a really exciting build up on Wednesday, and I thought, this could be a storyline that runs for a bit. What's going to happen to Daniel? How are they going to find out the truth? It turns out that by Friday it's like, sorry, yeah, you didn't do it, did you? You can come back to school now. Did you think that? I
was really surprised at how quickly they wrapped this part of the storyline up, because I was really expecting this to drag out for weeks. Well, they had investigations and... Because, I mean, yeah, not just the school, but also the police. And I can also imagine them doing a story where the school says, well, we've investigated and nothing's going on. And the police going, well, we haven't investigated. We're going to have to investigate ourselves. It's not down to you to decide. And then the school versus the police, and then, I just don't know. I was kind of glad to be put out of my misery quite quickly. But I'm also wondering, is this really the end, or is something else going to happen, or, are they going to open it up with more evidence? I don't think they've got there's nothing else lurking that I can think of. But, who knows what Daniel's doing, because, he doesn't go to school that often. He's always bumming around
the cafe or the pub.
And stuff. And for all we know, we don't see him all the time. He could be shagging a completely different student.
He could be, couldn't he? Yeah, maybe.
Because he has got a thing.
Asher, I reckon.
Well, he's got a thing for little blondes, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Little thicko blonde. That's
Bethany.
why. This is the thing. I don't know why Summer thought he could see anything in her. And if she did, she should be offended. Because Daniel really only goes for blonde thickos. So it's kind of a good thing.
Anyone that he can feel superior over.
And let's face it, Daisy's a bit of an honorary blonde, isn't she?
Yeah. Later on, Paul has ordered a slice of humble pie from Roy's. £1.20 a slice.
You joking? At Roy's price, well, Roy's not there anymore. If Roy's in charge still, it would be like 45p.
So it's got
plus a free cup of tea.
It's got a dollop of humble ice cream next to it as well. And Daniel comes in. Paul apologises to him, and Daniel says, well, you know what, you're right to report it if you thought it was true. Just a bit devastated, though, that you thought it could have been true. But if you buy me a cake, then we'll call it quits.
So that's the end of that. I don't get paid enough to afford my own cake.
Well, that's almost quits, except David is still not accepting it, because he ends the storyline this week by causing himself to chuckle with an amazing line of, before long, you'll be on a register instead of taking it. And then he kind of walks off chuckling evilly
kind
to
of walks
himself,
off like,
I've been wanting to say that for weeks. I just needed to find the opportunity to do it.
Absolutely.
Did you hear that, Max? Did you hear that, son? So it's not over yet because this not rival, this antagonistic enemy ship that has been forged between David and Daniel is still very much ongoing. Or will it just kind of drop now? Because it came out of nowhere, didn't it? David's had a thing against Daniel for a couple of months for no particular reason.
Has he?
Yeah, I think so. We've seen them having
it would have made sense if
shatter matches in the street.
If we'd had any kind of reason for it. I know in real life you sometimes just don't like somebody, but you don't just suddenly decide after living near somebody for years that you just take against them.
No, and I know that David isn't exactly, all sweetness and light and everything, but he's just coming across to me as like not very likable in this story because we know that Daniel is the wronged party here, and then you got David having a go at him. We're supposed to like David is the antagonist in it, and I don't like that
because he hasn't. He's normally like the cheeky imp, or like at the very least he's sort of disruptive in an entertaining way, like when he's taking an axe to everyone's window fronts or pushing Gail down the stairs or whatever, which is funny. But just him having a go at somebody who hasn't actually done anything and taking the side of his scroty son is just a bit annoying.
Yeah, Shona is trying to get David to see that maybe Max could maybe be making this up. But what I think maybe we needed some calmer heart-to-hearts between David or Shona or something to maybe have David explain why he's sticking up for his son so much. I don't know. It just felt like it was missing something there, and I'm hoping that we can get back to the David we all know and love soon. Maybe we will. I don't know. But I definitely enjoyed this story this week. I think Wednesday was definitely the best day out of the three of them for it. And this is how I was like, this is great. But then watching over to you going, anything to add about the Daniel allegation side of thing? It felt like we were going to be able to have a good discussion about it, but then when it was kind of all nipped in the bud by the end of today's episode, it was like,
it's very interesting.
No theories here.
It's very interesting because I think it was handled well. I just don't like the story. I just find it very excruciating to watch.
I thought it was good that they made it serious. That it felt like, all those interview scenes on Wednesday and everything, it wasn't just done for the drama at the ice ball and then now everyone's going to shout at each other. We actually got to see Daniel's reaction to it, the fact that he was staying pretty cool and calm by it, and I think what he was doing was very much in character. I thought that the investigation felt, maybe like it would do in real life. I would have thought that maybe Daniel should have a union representative there or something. He should be in like a million unions if he's in his PGCE year, because they give you all the free year when you're doing your PGCE. But no, he doesn't need that anyway. But no, it felt like it was being treated seriously, and then it was kind of over by the end of the week because they ran out of time.
I thought it was a bit weird that Daisy was the one that pointed out to him that he had sort of brought some of this on his own head, because it seems like she was very insightful and sensible, and I know that she's got, I just didn't think she's that emotionally intelligent.
Well, I think that she's getting more and more like that every week, and
I know, but I don't necessarily need that from her character,
which I do, because I felt that she's been too one-dimensional, and as the weeks are going on, I'm definitely liking her more, and I would say this was the week that I have liked Daisy the most, because we've seen a bit more of a sensible, intelligent side to her, caring side, and the fact that she was pointing out to Daniel, you're screwed up here.
I know. I thought that was really good because, I was, because I know that nothing happened. I was on Daniel's side, but it was quite frustrating the amount of times that he's put himself in a really stupid, vulnerable situation where it was only a matter of time, really, that somebody would accuse him of doing something, because of how little he seems to. He's like blurring so many, like she said, blurring the lines by inviting her to his house and touching her on the arm. And I like that bit where Ken was like being such a teacher. He's like, Daniel, you gave Summer an energy bar, but did you bring enough for the rest of the class? No, then put it away.
No, yeah, I think that, on their own, some of the things that Daniel did could have been explained away, especially the poem.
The poem thing was silly, but it was like...
if everything else could have been true, then the poem, you would have thought, maybe that was dodgy, but no, what?
I am so suspicious of the sheer number of people who seem to be able to quote poetry. Mm-hmm. Aren't you suspicious of people that know whole poems off by heart? I am.
The government would like children to learn poems off by heart more.
I know limericks and I know song lyrics.
Then, give me a limerick.
I only know the one about the woman from Venus.
No, I've forgotten what I was going to say now. What were we talking about?
Well...
yeah, the Daniel bringing it on himself. Yes, he did. The lift last week, we said, was like...
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Even like, I don't know. The arm touch, this food in the bag. When he was saying, look, I felt for her. I know that she had diabetes. I was just... it is all very innocent, but I think it was because he knew her outside of school. Would he have done that to his other students? I don't know, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe
also,
he would. I'm sure that there are teachers.
There's
so many neglected children up and down the country, and I'm sure there are teachers that are, you have this apple, have this. I know that you haven't been fed very well. There are lots of kind-hearted teachers.
But I would imagine that a lot of them are sensible enough if they might feel it opens them up to vulnerabilities. Like, look, here, Mrs. Smith, take this over to Thingamabob. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
You said to me before about never being alone in a room with a child.
Yeah, I know. You get told that.
You get told lots of things. I'm sure he would have been told all of this.
Yeah. And he would have been told it fairly recently because he was just on his course.
But I think it's just sort of a demonstration of his arrogance, honestly. I think that he thinks a lot of things are beneath him because he's Daniel Osborne,
He does seem very cocky about his teaching position.
I
There's
think
no
he thinks
kind of...
that he's doing everyone a favour by being a teacher and that he's got potential to be so much more than a teacher. But, I want to help the community.
Yeah, you should be grateful for me imparting my wisdom on you. He doesn't come across at all as being I'm only just a new teacher and,
I don't know what I'm doing.
No, exactly. They mentioned his... there's one point he mentioned his PGCE mentor. I can't remember why, and I didn't really get what his PGCE mentor would have to do with it because he would have surely passed his PGCE back in June. But, I think he did need taken down a peg or two, actually. So maybe this will make him a little bit more humble. And maybe he'll just, think before he acts a little bit more. Because I assume his career isn't over. Although whether he'll get any more stories being a teacher, I don't know now.
No, but I mean, it was really interesting to see, a false allegation storyline without it being... the good thing I think about it that was good that Coronation Street handled it well was that it wasn't like the girl saying it or Summer saying... something's going on here that isn't right, because we don't need stories about how women aren't to be trusted and they'll ruin your life just by saying that you raped them or whatever, because I think we've had lots of people paranoid about that and saying things like that when it's far more likely that a woman has been molested or raped and not said anything about it than it is to have a false allegation made against you. So I think they're very wise to explore this storyline from, the perspective of being accused of something, but without it being, the blame being on the girl.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's
good stuff.
Helpful.
Just before we move on to the next storyline, I just want to give a quick shout out to Tracy. I thought she was pretty cool this week. Lots of insults that you enjoyed. You wrote down all the insults and you put a tweet out.
Oh, I don't know.
Minge bag.
Minge bag was the only one I remember.
People got upset by minge bag, but there was this was something that Tracy said a few years ago, and apparently I think minge bag is a...
I don't think you're saying it quite a lot,
What?
You're saying it a lot.
Yes.
I know.
I'm saying it's a common northern term for somebody who's miserly. It's got nothing to do with minges. Yeah.
Hang on a minute.
Yeah, definitely. So she was good. I kind of enjoyed Steve's reference to her tapes, although the way he said it kind of was like
get ready
I'm
for
making
the
a
meta.
reference here, playing my tapes. Whereas, interestingly, we watched the classic episode from 2005 where Ray Langton came back the other day, didn't we? And that also mentioned Tracy being upstairs playing her tapes, and he just said it like you would say it. But yeah, Steve was kind of bigging up the fact that he was making a bit of a Tracy reference here, but
she
nice
said Mingebag, Scroat, Reverend Liar, Oxbridge, conspiracy theorist, and there was quite a few other ones that she threw out all over the place.
Yeah, she was fun. Yeah. Right, I think let's move on to the Phill story, Gemma. Fizz and Phill, what they've been up to this week. It's your turn.
On Monday, Fizz is like, "Oh, I'm gonna come home to see Phill for a bit of hanky-panky because I would like to complicate the storyline with an unplanned pregnancy of some description." But Mimi's there and she's making deviled eggs, and it reminded me that I wanted to make deviled eggs at Thanksgiving, but I forgot to do it because apparently that's a thing.
Never mind.
She wants to do party planning. Does Mimi? She's like, "Oh, Fizz, I'm so glad you're here. We've got to do some planning for the fête d'anniversaire."
The fête d'anniversaire de mon cher fils.
And Fizz is like, I'm going. So she goes.
I think what you might find with my notes for this, Gemma, is they're maybe not as thorough as you might like, which some people might be breathing a sigh of relief at as they're listening if we're going a bit long. Because every scene that Mimi was in, I just didn't want to take my eyes off the screen because I thought that she was so brilliant. So
she was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, go on.
At work, Fizz is moaning about Mimi when she turns up at the factory and she's like, "Oh, do you know, this place is not as hideous as I had expected it to be. Isn't it nice?" And then Sally's completely in love with Mimi immediately because she's everything that Sally wants to be. Yeah. If Sally finds out she lives in Cheshire, her brain will explode. The kinship here. She's like, "Oh, have you seen my front door? It's duck egg blue." And Mimi's like, "Oh, my cottage is quail egg blue," or something like that. It was fantastic. She tells Fizz that she's ordered some party dresses which are going to turn up at 4:00. So back at home, Mimi presents Fizz with these sparkly party dresses for the girls, and she gives her a dress as well. She's like, "Oh, it's teal, which is Phil's favourite colour." It
was like this hideous it was kind of a dark tealy blacky. It looked like she was kind of dressing up for Greek Day, but
it was a one-shouldered dress for Fizz.
It just looked like
the one shoulder led to a giant wide sleeve.
It just looked like there was a roll of material and somebody forgot to sew it into a dress. They just kind of wrapped it around her and that was it.
"Oh, I think you'll find you just don't understand fashion." Anyway, she looks very uncomfortable. And Hope is not very impressed with the dress that she's been given, which is it's a bit like Wednesday Addams has had teal paint thrown all over her. She doesn't want to go to the party, and then Fizz is saying, "Well, you know, I don't think Hope should be made to wear something she's not comfortable with." And Phill is there at the same time, so is Mimi, but Phil's not backing Fizz up here, and he's just kind of letting his mum steamroll at everybody because he doesn't want to speak up. So Fizz bumps into Tyrone at the market and she's moaning on about Mimi and saying that that Phil's not standing up for her and she's a bit disappointed. And Tyrone's like, "Well, Phil's the top bloke, blah, 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 blah. And because he even checked with me about the surprise Christmas holiday he's taking you on and with the girls." And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh, no, I can't tell you." She's like, "I didn't know that he was even planning anything. Where are we going?" And Tyrone's like, "Oh, I can't say. I shouldn't have said anything. Forget I said anything," etc., etc. Fizz and Tyrone end up in the Rovers, and Mimi comes in for a wine, and she's gets offered the usual. Well, we've got 3 types of wine. We've got red, white, or rosé, and that's about it. Fizz introduces Tyrone, and Mimi's obviously heard a lot about him already because she's like, "Oh, the miscreant." Then she goes off to the loo, and Tyrone's like, "Bloody hell, how can you put up with her? She's a nightmare." So Fizz goes back home. She's kind of tolerating Mimi at this point because she's just happy that she's got this surprise holiday coming up. How exciting. On Wednesday, Fizz has cooked Phill a birthday breakfast, which Mimi is not very chuffed with. She's belittling it and sort of...
Wasn't it like a...
It's a full English.
Yeah. I thought it was like a
I didn't look really.
breakfast bap or something, and Mimi says it has been cremated. Something like that, anyway.
She starts bringing up this party that she's planned and all the hard work that she's put into planning it and everything. And this cake that's supposed to come. So Fizz is in the bistro and she realises that they've delivered the cake to the wrong place. They've given it to the Viaduct Brasserie in Wetherby. What's going to happen? What can she do about it? And Tyrone jumps in, volunteers to go and get it. So she's trying to stall for time, but Mimi's like, "Where's my cake?" And then she starts having a go, and she's like, "I would have been better off getting 2 orangutans from the zoo to sort this." Tyrone comes in just in time, and she grabs the cake off of him, and I was like, "Oh my god, the cake's gonna go on the floor." But no, it was better than that, because when she puts it on the table and reveals the cake, she kind of just looks at it and starts crying. And then Debbie, I think it's Debbie, says, I know how you feel. I would be upset too. And she's like, "No, it's the perfect likeness of our childhood dog."
That just reminded me, we've got quite far into the podcast, Gemma, without mentioning we did have an interview with Sue Devaney earlier this week, didn't we? Also from 500 episodes.
Yeah!
That was there a few
One of our favourite
days
characters
ago.
at the moment.
Thank you very much, Sue
She's
Devaney.
fantastic.
Maybe mention you again later.
So this dog is, I can't remember what his name is, but he was very dear to their hearts, but he also was one of these dopey looking dogs with the tongue hanging out to one side. And she's like, "It's a perfect likeness." They're trying not to laugh at this.
I know.
The party starts up and Fizz is given Phill what would any bloke want. I'm surprised. I know that they have these shops in town, like the gift shop for men that people don't like. What can I get a man? I don't know. What do men even want? Go into the shop. It turns out what they really want is a drone or a dartboard or one of these comedy corkscrews or a knife block.
Oh, which one of them am I getting for Christmas?
A knife block that looks like a man that you put the knives through.
Yeah.
Actually, what men really want, which is what you're getting, is a framed photo of the Stape Dobbs family.
I thought this was very sweet because Mimi's there saying, "Oh, just wait until you see what presents I've got you, and you'll see this is the best present you've ever had."
I'm moving to Weatherfield, and the dream team's going to be back together again.
It was Fizz's present showed, you're a member of the family now. It showed love. It showed it's the little things that are the most important. But Mimi was being very extravagant with hers. Although, did she actually give him anything apart from
She got him a cake.
A cake and the promise of moving to Weatherfield.
I thought there was some kind of story about her perhaps being broke or something, because I don't understand why she's decided to move to Weatherfield.
I don't know.
I don't think it came up.
No, I don't think so.
Anyway, Mimi's doing a slideshow and she's talking about herself a lot of the time. Like, "Oh, no one believed I could get back to size 10 after giving birth to Phill, but there I am, look at me," like that. And
I thought it was cool seeing all the pictures of young Phill.
I know.
Jamie McKenna must have had to have raided his old photo album.
Tyrone pipes up and says, "Let's all toast to Fizz," and then takes Mimi off to have a word with her because she's being really obnoxious. He takes her into the back room and he says to her, "Listen, you can't move to Weatherfield, it's going to be a disaster." And she starts going on about how Phill has just become, she's like, "He's a glorified babysitter to somebody with terrible taste in interior design. Florals and stripes." I like that because Fizz definitely, that house is the worst decorated.
I know.
It's not even the thing is, it's the worst decorated.
I don't know. I think number 5 with Chesney and Gemma are pretty close.
It's the worst decorated because there's an intention there and somebody has tried. That's the worst bit about it. It's not neglectful decor like Gemma and Chesney's where it's just well, this is what it looks like. Deal with it. It's somebody's gone, what would be nice in here? And that's what they came up with.
I don't mind.
I'm with Mimi on it. I'm with Mimi on it. I do not like loud wallpaper.
Quite garish. But she found it so quaint when she first went in there.
I think she was taking the mick. So, Tyrone says, "Oh yeah, well I found out what your real name is, Beryl, because here it was on the cake." So they go back into the main room, and it turns out everybody heard everything because she was holding onto the microphone, shouting into it. Then Phill decides to stand up for Tyrone, and then Tyrone tells Phill that he's won the jackpot with her, but I don't know whether you mean Mimi or Fizz.
Fizz.
You're lucky to have Fizz.
Yeah.
Back at number 9, Phil's like, I'm so sorry I didn't stand up against my mum. I was a coward. And Fizz is like, yeah, okay, I forgive you. Put it behind us. And Phil's like, nobody will ever come between us again.
Definitely not Tyrone.
This whole week was full of like people saying things like, I hope that you haven't got a secret specifically to do with this thing that we've just talked about, or please tell me that you're not hiding who burned down Speed Daal, or I'm so glad that my grandchildren are absolutely honest, would never watch a man die on the floor in front of them. So on Friday, Sally's gossiping about Fizz in the factory.
Well, she was just... Fizz was there, wasn't she? Sally's just kind of saying whatever, trying to get the latest on a variety of topics.
Fizz says, look, I'm just grateful Tyrone stood up for me. It doesn't mean we're getting back together or anything. And also Mimi's buggered off because the actress got fed up. It's Hope's birthday. Phil's getting ready for the party. I'm surprised that Mimi didn't want to stick around and buy more dresses for this. Fizz asks him how his pipes are doing back at home. He's like, yeah, I'm all right. I had to clear out this morning. What do you mean? Oh.
Well, Yasmin was asked about her movements as well with the police interview, wasn't she?
It's normally in the morning. She strongly suggests he moves back into his own place. He looks very disappointed, but he sort of goes along with it. So he comes back down later. He's packed up. He thinks Fizz is dumping him, and he gives her the key back, and she's like, "No, you need it. I'm not breaking up with you. We're okay. You can come and go as you please now." But she gives a look like, oh, it might be the end, when he's not looking, but we are. Then outside, Phill bumps into Tyrone, who says, I'm sorry about the show I made at your party. And Phill says, don't worry about it. Fizz doesn't need you to defend her anymore, though. I'll do it. And then he walks off, and Tyrone's like, say hi to Mimi for me, you big mummy's boy. I don't know why he called her Mimi and not Beryl. I suppose they thought we would have forgotten by then.
Maybe.
I like the fact that he was only brave and shouting when Phil's walked off, because I think Phill...
Fizz is about twice the height of Tyrone, isn't he?
Phill is.
Yeah, he's massive compared to him. I pretty much liked everything about this, apart from it seems just like utterly inevitable that this is Fizz getting back with Tyrone, isn't it? I wondered whether it was going to be a case of she gets so fed up with Mimi that she's driven away from Phill. But it seems like Mimi's out of the picture now. But because Tyrone has stood up for her on Wednesday, Fizz has maybe realised, oh, I forgot what a great man you were. And it's not that she's getting fed up of Phill, not that she's getting fed up of Mimi, but that she's rekindling those old feelings for Tyrone, don't you think?
Yes.
But I don't know. I'd be happy either way, whether she stays with Phill or Tyrone. But we all know she's going to go back to Tyrone, doesn't she? Which is a shame, and I don't think that Phil's going to stay in the program. Or maybe he will, because there's the he's still on the committee, isn't he, for the bypass going through the red wreck. So he could stay on the show for a little longer, but I don't think they really need him, especially if he's not.
I just find him a bit of an enigma, really, because he's got this aristocratic mother who has obviously got a load of money, but she wants to move to Weatherfield. She's obviously really codependent, but he hasn't mentioned her before now, and she's super involved in him, but never speaks to him normally. Why she want to move? I don't know if we're ever going to find out. What happened to Eric? Because he wasn't there this week.
No,
why is Phill living in a flat that's like tiny if he seems to be a man of means? Do you know what I mean? He's got no real personality. He's like one of these blokes. He's nice to somebody else.
I think that's why I like him, because he's just nice. He's somebody that we could they could develop more from if they wanted to. But
it's a shame he didn't know it wasn't here when Alina was around, because they'd be perfect for each other. They just got to be nice to each other. But can you imagine Mimi if she saw? Can you imagine Mimi if she saw that picture that Tyrone of Tyrone? Oh, how wonderful! Car. How unique! Where do you get that from? I've never seen anything like it.
I was also disappointed that Evelyn's not here, and I didn't say, she's not here at the moment. So
it would have been fantastic to have had Mimi versus Evelyn. What dare I hope they're saving it for Christmas Day? Of course they're not, because we know that Phil's whisking Fizz off somewhere. Or is he?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think so. I've got a feeling that maybe Fizz is going to be staying back home with Tyrone, you know. Is it going to be like, they're going to get to the airport and Phil's going to be getting on the plane and Fizz will turn around and say, no, I can't go with you, Phill. I want Tyrone. And she'll run back to him. I don't know. But yeah, I thought it could have been good if maybe nobody was going to stand up to Mimi. Nobody dared do it until Evelyn came along, and then maybe the climax of the story would be that Evelyn absolutely wipes the floor with Mimi, because Mimi had she had all the power, didn't she, up until the point where Tyrone stands up to her. I would have liked it if it had been Evelyn, but sadly it looks like that scene will not happen. But sad. It is sad. But I enjoyed her for the 6 episodes, was it, that we had her?
As
I said earlier, I can totally see how some
funny.
people did not get on with her at all.
There's that funny bit where something about Fizz saying she scrubs up well or something, and then Mimi says, oh, well, I guess some of us are life scrubbers, and I've gone funny, and some of us don't need to bother or something like that. That was quite funny.
Yeah. Oh, well.
So this is definitely a very classic case of a mother-in-law, even though she's not it's like steamrolling everybody, and the son not standing up for his other half.
It can be really hard to stand up to your parents, though, can't it? Especially when you got parents like her. I don't really blame him.
I know, but no,
for not saying something.
Well, you're wrong, because who else is going to?
I know.
In these situations,
she's obviously doted on him since he was little, and so
I know, but in this situation, when she's causing havoc and making people uncomfortable and being very overbearing, he is really the only person who can stand up to her and put her in her place, and it's his responsibility, and he's not doing it because he's too scared, and he's like used to the status quo, and he doesn't want to rock the boat.
So I don't really blame Fizz for having second thoughts.
I wouldn't get involved in that nightmare.
You want somebody who's gonna look after you and have you back, don't you?
Well, she just look forward to a lifetime of having Mimi pitch up for every special occasion, bringing with her various accoutrements that cost way too much money, and expecting everybody to fall at her feet and be forever grateful for the scraps that she throws at them. She didn't even give you a choice in.
Well, there's no secret mother-in-law if she stays with Tyrone, does she? Because whether you're talking about Jackie or whether you're talking about Cassie, they're both dead. Sad. Although somebody did mention Scylla this week as well, didn't they? And it's not like she's exactly the perfect example of motherhood. So, all swings and roundabouts.
Since you mentioned the minge bag thing, I looked this up, and there's a Guardian article from 2019 written by David Shariat Mardari. And it's what Coronation Street's minge bag jibes tells us about the North-South divide.
I think I read this at the time.
Because apparently, up north, it's a synonym for miserly. But I don't think that Tracy was using it as a synonym for miserly in the conversation that she had, where she called.
No. Whoever.
Oh, it's obviously morphed.
It's evolved over the couple of years.
But interestingly, it says here the first time it's been recorded as being used was in East Suffolk in 1903. And it just means like an annoying woman.
Right. Hash job, hashes to ashes then. So what's going on with the Nazirs this week? Well, Speed Daal set on fire last week, wasn't it? It's all been taped off on Monday morning. Sally, well, the tongues are wagging about who it was that started it, and Sally's saying, well, it must have been Stu, mustn't it? Who else must it have been? And Yasmin's like, oh yes, it definitely must have been Stu, but I should never have left him. I thought that Yasmin was being far too dramatic this week, actually. And
Yasmin was getting herself wound up all week, but
she had an excuse. It's nearly the anniversary of Jeff's death and everything. But yeah, she's like, oh yeah, I should never have left him alone in the restaurant. You probably shouldn't, Yasmin. You just any rando off the street saying, yeah, take advantage of me. Go and cook up a nice whatever it was that he was making down there.
She's like, I got a homeless man. I offered him free food. Then I arranged for him to have a job interview without telling him, for a job he didn't even ask for or apply for. Then my son insulted him to his face. Then I gave him the key to my restaurant and let him go there himself and cook whatever he wanted with whatever he wanted without actually arranging anything with him. But I can't work out where I've gone wrong.
Hashim shows up on the street. He just keeps popping out of places, doesn't he, like, this week?
Hello, it's me.
Oh, gosh. He was...
I think he died of the drama. I don't think it was a heart attack.
He really wanted to make sure that we understood every single syllable that he was saying this week, didn't he? He was an expressionate man, that's for sure. So he's there on Monday. He wants to know from Zeedan and Alia if this fire went as planned, because it was his sons that did it, obviously. And he's like, I don't care about what's happened to Stu. All I want is my money. Thank you very much. And also, this is all your fault, because if you hadn't stolen that money from me that time, then I wouldn't be part of your life anymore. So yeah.
Imagine if Aiden had come into the show. What happened? Because imagine if Aiden had stolen the money from Hashim instead of Johnny for the factory originally.
Wow.
Hashim's taking it a lot harder than Johnny ever did. Johnny just turned up and went, well, it's my factory now.
Hashim probably would have ended up with the factory roof on his head if that had been the case.
Well, he's obviously destined to become a cropper because of just how irritating he was.
So Stu's awake at the hospital. The Stu and Kelly stuff doesn't really go very far this week, does it? There's a couple of scenes with him there saying, oh, people blame me for everything. Yasmin doesn't believe me. Why can't I just tell the truth and then people accept that? And Yasmin says, no, this was the point where Yasmin was there, and Yasmin saying to him, why don't you just take responsibility for your actions? And I was like, Yasmin, you're not listening at all. Why are you jumping to the conclusion that it was definitely him? I know that it was, with the evidence that she's been presented with, it was probably most likely that that's what happened. But it felt to me like she was flying off the handle a little bit too much. I wasn't really a fan of Yasmin this week.
Like, what's the word? The moral superiority or something, Like, she was really, really having a go at him. Like, she was so special and he was crap. In the Coronation films.
So Zeedan later on is trying to get Alia not to tell anything about what really happened if Stu gets the finger pointed at him. Let's let him take the blame, shall we? And she's like, no, I can't let Stu take the rap for this. Then Debbie turns up and starts grovelling about the fact that it was her who took the van last week, which was the catalyst for a lot of these events.
That was weird.
She's like, sorry.
I'm really sorry. I thought it was a laugh.
Yeah, did it just for a joke because you took my patch at the Christmas market.
And they're like, where is it?
Just behind the bistro.
Oh, I could have looked there.
I couldn't because there's no set for it. Zeedan is absolutely fuming.
What a cunning place to hide it.
Then Yasmin comes home later. She's pretty dejected after the whole hospital thing. Zeedan's feeling mega guilty about everything, but he's pleased to hear from her that Stu didn't see or hear anything, i.e. Hashim's son's coming on to set light for the place. When the insurance company cough up, they will be laughing. And Alia's like, if they cough up.
I can't imagine Zeedan laughing at anything these days.
No. Wednesday just had a couple of scenes. Everyone's allowed to go into Speed Daal. It's all a bit burnt out and black. Maybe salvageable, possibly. But there was this whole thing about the insurance to think about. And do we give Elaine the money because she wanted to sell up and everything? Yasmin's still very, very frustrated over the whole Stu business. And yeah, this is when he's with Kelly in the hospital saying, oh, when you're homeless, nobody takes you seriously, blah, blah, blah. Zeedan is looking worried later when Yasmin talks about Elaine getting her share of the Speed Daal insurance money, though, for Faye's case.
Well, she's like, I told her she could have it.
He needs that money to give to Hashim.
And they're like, but Gran, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, I won't hear of it. I told her that she could have it so she can. Mm-hmm. It's like, these three people are so incompetent. They can't ever talk to each other about anything.
We've got to make it a drama, haven't they?
I know, just go around secretly doing business deals with each other without saying anything and then wondering why it causes issues.
Friday. This is when it starts. This takes another unexpected twist. And I had no idea where this story is going. Ever since the start, every development in there is like, oh, okay. Not necessarily that I didn't expect it, but I didn't know that this was going to happen. I have seen no spoilers for this. So, a bit of a surprise on Friday. It's the anniversary of Jeff's death and Coronation Street. It's, 61st anniversary and everything. Yasmin's feeling a bit sad. She's been having bad dreams about him. She is wondering whether Hashim started the fire even, and Zeedan's like, just drop it now, Gran. Let the police sort it out. They think it was Stu or whatever. Leave it at that. And then we get that funny scene where Zeedan's walking down the street and Hashim opens his car door in front of him to stop him, and he's like, aha, I could come up from anywhere. Now I'm here in my car. Zeedan says, look, we've been as quick as we can. Can't speed things up anymore. And Hashim says, no, I need my cash back and I want my insurance money. We're only done when I say we are done. Police comes to take Yasmin down the station. They've had word that what happened may have been arson. Did we find out where that came from in the end?
No, I don't know. I don't think so.
I wonder whether they'll say. Maybe. Oh, it must have been Kelly, because she was at the end of Wednesday's episode having a go at them, saying, "Oh, this is an insurance job."
Oh, right.
So I reckon Kelly must have done it.
She's a cheeky
She is a little scallywag, isn't she? That Kelly.
Don't you think she is?
Kelly, who also left somebody to die, just like Alia did. They're just
birds of a feather.
Exactly. So Alia's getting grilled at the police station as well. She says, oh, everything was going fine at Speed Daal, wouldn't need to have claim on the insurance and everything. And they said, oh, well, we'll have to see your accounts then. She's like, oh, fine. But they're a little bit worried because...
because they had that day when somebody ate 20 grand's worth of onion barges and paid in cash.
They don't really want the police looking at that too closely. So Zeedan's like says, oh, we can't get rid of these books, Alia. We can say they were burnt in the fire or something. They got no computer files, nothing backs up to the clouds or anything. I don't know how businesses work.
Just imagine they're all standing there like in the back garden with a bonfire and they're burning the accounts, and then Zeedan comes out with all the pictures of his own old hairstyle and starts burning them as well.
I've moved on from then. Yasmin, meanwhile, is still insisting to this police officer that the fire was an accident. Officer says, you've been having a bit of financial worries this year, haven't you? After your husband died and everything, and nice big insurance payout, which maybe have been quite handy for you.
I don't understand this, because the insurance money will only be helpful if they don't use it to buy what they need to replace what got burned in the fire.
Well, yeah, I think he's just assuming that she's going to take the money,
I know, but the thing is,
use some of it to pay off her debts.
I understand this, but this is Weatherfield, where if she wanted to, she could just go and sell her business to somebody in the pub who's had a windfall from their aunt who died that they never met, who's just left them £100,000. And she'd be like, oh, what's your coincidence? So I wanted to sell my business for £100,000. They'd be like, well, you know what? It has been my life's passion to run a Pakistani street food restaurant. So this just works perfectly for all of us.
Well,
obviously the policeman doesn't watch Coronation.
He doesn't know. Well, I think he was new. I didn't recognise this policeman.
I'm sorry, I'm new. I just assume it was an insurance job.
Back at home, Alia's panicking, and then they have this knock on the door, and he's like, "It's the big bad wolf. Let me in, or I'll blow your house down." And so they let him in. It's Hashim.
This guy, he's like really, really hamming it up, but he's missed Panto season.
Yeah, he is hamming it up, and like I said on the Facebook group, you can't spell Hashim without ham. So he's worried about this arson tip-off. He's like, I don't need my family being questioned or involved in any way, implicated in this arson.
Maybe don't get him to set fires then.
Yeah, exactly. He says, right, I'm going to sort you out once and for all. And he reaches in.
Coughing, and I'm like, oh, he's got what Stu's got. It's actually going round.
I didn't even notice that. At first I
said that, and I said, oh, he's coughing and stuff. And you're like,
did he?
And you said, no, he's just being dramatic. This is why we're not doctors.
And then he's really, really dramatic because he has a heart attack and conks out on the floor.
Yeah.
And Zeedan's like, oh, Alia, we need to phone an ambulance. And Alia's like,
hang on.
What if we don't? And I'm like, Is that what Alia would say in this situation? I don't know. Why
not just have the roles reversed?
Yeah, it would maybe.
I guess there's going to be a plot reason.
Well, I think we're maybe to believe that after everything that happened with the Jeff situation, she's kind of become hardened.
She did say, she's like, we don't need more evil men in this world. Let them die. It's like, wow, it's very feminist of you. Wanting to kill all the men. I think
she didn't realise that this side of her was buried deep inside her soul, and it only needed somebody to be dying of a heart attack on a lounge floor for it to awaken within her.
Alia's like, I'm going to rid the world of abusive men. 1 per year.
Round about the beginning of December.
Christmas. Just as a treat.
Anyway, so they're like debating.
What should we do?
Should we try and save him or
die?
not? But then they don't need to make the decision anymore because Ryan bursts in and is like, "Oh, look, have you noticed Hashim's having a heart attack on the floor? Why aren't you doing anything about that?" And they were just like, "Oh, yeah, we're just about to."
I know, we're like thinking about it.
And then
I thought this was kind of good, but they didn't bring it up because Ryan and Ali had this with the doctor. No, the guy, the drug dealer that died on the floor.
Oh yeah.
And
no, what was his name?
Not Curtis.
No, not Ronan. Ronan was the dad, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris.
I don't remember. It began with
he fell. He. I can't remember what happened.
Somebody can tell us.
Then he collapsed on the floor, and Ryan was like paralysed.
Yeah, he didn't know what to do. He called up Ali to come round, didn't he? And it was too late.
And Ali tried to save him because he's a doctor.
Yeah, whereas this time, Ryan's like, don't want
I know what
to
do.
Again.
I remember. I know what he did. He went, ooh, 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 ooh.
The thing is, Ryan's so jacked, he probably just squashed right through him.
Yeah, but Ryan is not very bright, is he? He's not a doctor like his brother. No. He was just standing over him going... It was like, Ryan, you have to put your hand on his chest and push. Didn't
work anyway, did he? Because
he died.
Hashim dies. Oh, you saw that coming.
What a Christmas death.
Yeah. So anyway, Ali is like, right, we can take advantage of this situation.
I'm surprised she didn't suggest they like roll him down the road or stick him in the sinkhole or.
It did give me Callum vibes. Because, the layout of their house is very similar to the layout of the Platt's house. And with him conked out on the floor there, and there were 3 of them like, what do we do now? It just reminded me of, when Callum was there and you had David and Sarah and Kylie saying, what do we do with this dead body?
I guess it's kind of refreshing that they went, well, we obviously phoned the police first.
Feed him to the chickens, that's what I say. No, Alia's there's right. We're going to make out that it was him that burnt down Speed Daal. We're going to put the keys to Speed Daal in his pocket on his car or something
with his fingerprints.
Yeah, exactly. And then it was, and we'll say, oh, he kicked the door down today, saying that you were supposed to be in Speed Daal when the fire went, and that made me think, oh,
they interviewed, and Zeedan's like,
yeah,
I don't know who did burn down, or if anyone indeed. Perhaps it was an accident, but Hashim was saying things that might have led me to believe it could have been him.
Hang on a minute, I think it might have been him. Write that down in your notebook, officer.
What exactly did he say? And he's like, well, I burned down Speed Daal and you're next. And,
you don't think that means?
Can you smell petrol on me? Because I swear, maybe I'm Lady Macbeth in it, but I still feel the stench on my clothes.
Yeah, so they do their best to drop him right in it. Meanwhile, Yasmin's still being interviewed.
I can't help but think this was a massive mistake. I really think they should have just gone, oh, he's dead, no more questions, leave it at that. Because as it is, surely, if it turns out it was a crime that Hashim committed, I think that's going to mess up the insurance claim for a start.
Maybe.
Also, he didn't actually do it, his sons did. And if his sons think that they've killed him in, like, retribution, even though they didn't, even though they kind of did, aren't they gonna, come after them too?
Yeah, they know where they live.
Sons are they gonna be like, well, you know what, I did get sick and tired of being bossed around by my oppressive father. Actually, what I wanted to do is become a veterinarian and save rabbits. Yeah, me too, brother.
Maybe this is their chance to escape.
I never wanted to be a criminal, I wanted to be an opera singer.
Anyway, they just get an interview for the rest of the episode and lies upon lies for Zeedan and Alia, really.
Do you think that
Zeedan thinks that it's all fine and Alia's like, no, what has happened? What have I become? Is how she ends the episode.
Yeah.
Have I become an interesting character yet? Please, I have become an interesting character. Oh, not quite,
I like the way
Alia.
also...
Nearly.
She kind of refers to herself as an evil genius at one point.
I know.
Really, I wish I wasn't such an evil genius. Life would be so much easier for me.
Yeah.
Okay. And she's like, she also, immediately after she decided and evil geniusly masterminded this entire plot, immediately following that, She then starts to say, I can't do it, I can't do it. Like, you haven't even tried.
This is far too stressful. I've been an evil genius for the last 5 minutes and I don't think I can take it anymore.
Literally, all you had to do was go, he came in, started shouting and dropped dead. What was he shouting about? Well, I cheated on his daughter and he was mad about it. Completely true. Don't be going around with keys and fingerprints and hiding stuff and suggesting things.
Yeah, when you panic, don't you?
You panic and accidentally set somebody up for arson.
Yeah. But the pressure was too much for Alia, and now she wants first ticket straight back to Blandsville.
I preferred it when I was just embroidering pants. It's kind of stupid and also funny, but it's like...
Did you enjoy the twist of this? Did you see? You didn't know any spoilers or anything about this,
No, of course I didn't. I didn't know that he was going to die.
I'm kind of going to miss Hashim just because how
he was so campy,
embarrassingly awful he was at times.
I just think
he was just like...
It depends on what they told him. Like, did they say, right, hand this up because we want a proper camp villain?
I'm sure it's all very well me saying this and everything because he's not trying to intimidate me, but I don't think that I'd find him that scary. If he kept appearing on the street and looking up at me. Like,
some characters on Coronation Street can, like, scare the crap out of you because you use the wrong fork to eat a dinner.
Mimi would.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be scared of even Hashim coming around going, I'm going to burn you in your house. Like, go on then. I'll get CCTV footage and find out it's your son's, you stupid idiot.
Yeah. So I'll miss him in a way. I didn't know where the story was going to go, and... I still don't. But is it going to be Alia having this crisis about...
I know, I can't really be doing with that.
I don't need Alia searching inside herself.
And also, are we going to have, for the rest of the, like, until it gets revealed, Zeedan, like, Yasmin coming up to Zeedan and Alia and going, you two are my only reasons for living and you would never lie to me. I hate liars and people that commit arson and also watch people die on the floor.
Well, she's also got to go and say sorry to Stu, hasn't she? That's something that's got to happen because the last thing that was left was she was saying, you definitely did it, why won't you admit that you did it? So
the thing is, it was a bit weird that Stu was like, no, I definitely didn't. Like, most people would be like, gosh, I don't think I did, but if I did, I'm sorry. Like, I might have left the stove on and not realised. You know what I mean? The fact that he was so definitely sure that he definitely didn't do it was a bit suspicious.
I'm wondering still about whether he's
because nobody means to do anything by accident. That's the whole point.
I'm wondering still whether he's going to die or not with this cough, or whether we're kind of over that now.
I told you.
But I don't know whether... No, but I'm thinking... I used to be more sure that he was going to, but now I think maybe this storyline doesn't need another death. Two deaths in as many weeks.
As well. Because, like, it's not going to do anything with Blondie.
Kelly.
Because she's already not homeless anymore. That didn't take very long, did it?
No, she's fine now.
Being homeless in Weatherfield is like being Dorothy. You just have to click your shoes together and think of home.
Do you think that Speed Daal is going to be back open again? Have you seen the last of it? I hope so. It's not even overdue a renovation. It's not been there for that long, is it? It's only been a few years that we've had it, but hope we get it again. Because now there's only one place for people to go to have dinner. That's the most important thing, isn't it?
But you can get your hot pot.
But they don't.
Roy's,
if you want to go somewhere
Bistro.
fancy, it used to be Bistro or Speed Daal, but now it's only Bistro. Debbie's laughing. I think she was the arsonist.
I think she secretly has Hashim's son.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I reckon so, yeah.
Also, can we please solve this problem that Coronation Street has of not having a universal guide to pronounce people's names? We've had Hashim. We have Yasmin.
I know.
Some of it's accents, but a lot of it is just they don't seem to know how to say people's names. And it's not like... The thing is, the reason they don't is because it's all written down in a script. But actually, in real life, they only know each other's names because they hear them said out loud.
Yeah. Well, that's enough about Alia and Zeedan. Should we move on to the next story? Gemma, you can take Curtis in the case of the Munchies.
Curtis. Right, so...
You had the ice story. That was the ice ball earlier.
Curtis tells Steve and Emma... Oh, God. He's such a stupid twonk, isn't he? I'm going to do the 3 Peaks challenge to earn more money for Oliver's fund. Now, I don't think this is a universally famous thing, is it? The 3 Peaks challenge. But it's quite a famous thing to do in the UK. It's... You have to go... Where is it?
Mount Snowdon in Wales. It's the tallest mountain in Wales. Tallest mountain in England, which is Scaffold Pike, surely. And then tallest mountain in Scotland, I'm going to say, I don't know, but it probably starts with a Ben. Is
Three
that
Peaks
right?
Challenge.
Yeah.
I'm just looking it up, Michael.
Live looking it up. So he's going to do this to earn money for Oliver's Fund,
going
he
up
says.
Ben Nevis, Scaffold Pike. So Ben Nevis,
Oh, was it Ben Nevis?
9 miles.
Nevis.
Scaffold Pike,
yeah, of course.
6 miles. And Snow... I thought you were joking when you said
No,
you
I
didn't
forgot.
know.
Ben Nevis is the tallest mountain in the whole of the British Isles, isn't it?
Yes. It's the Three Peaks Challenge. Is an event in which participants attempt to climb the highest mountains of England, Scotland and Wales within 24 hours.
I thought it was odd that...
So you climb up and then you get driven to the next bit, and then you climb up that one and then you drive and then you climb up and you got to do it in a day.
I thought it was odd that
that
he came to do his challenge today. I know he didn't really do it, but he made the decision to do it very soon before
Monday
actually
decides,
doing it.
Friday he's doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
some
the thing
people need
is,
to train months for that.
Yeah, but I think he's quite time efficient because you just say you're going to do it and then you don't do it, and it reduces the amount of time you got to train for it.
Yeah. Also, he didn't know how long he's got left. Well, if he thinks he's really sick. Moving
Which he
on.
doesn't. So he's going to do it for Oliver's Fund. Emma worries he's going to die, and he's like, "Don't worry about it, because I'm not going to do it." What did I say? No, I'll be fine. Steve's like, "You're a legend." And he's probably mad that he didn't think of it, because he was into like his extreme sports, wasn't he? And that's how they met, isn't it?
Yeah.
Steve and Curtis knocked into each other while they were doing a cycling race. Todd touts for business. This was so great because Todd's there in the bistro, and I think it's Emma and Curtis talking about how he's going to die and everything. And he tells like, interesting, here's my business card. If you ever need a cheap funeral,
well, there's the support group lady's there, isn't she?
Well, she comes in because Emma's called her to talk to him about the challenge, and she wants him to write a piece about what he's doing for the newsletter, and he's like, brilliant, yeah. And then Todd's like, oh, support group for people with terminal illnesses,
Ka-ching.
Group discount, maybe. So Curtis is telling the woman about his condition, and it's life limiting, there's no cure, but it hasn't stopped him falling in love with Emma. How fabulous. Emma's like, oh, I've bought us matching water bottles so we can do the challenge together, because I'm really well fit, because I do yoga. And he's like, no, I'm doing it by myself. Wednesday, we get a bit of more extended Barlow clan stories, because Amy has got 2 A's and a B in her predicted results. So everyone's excited, and Tracy and Steve were talking about whose side of the family is influenced.
Oh, that led to a nice, funny little conversation.
It was really good because
Tracy's saying, "I've got Ken on my side," and Steve's like, "You're not actually related.
You're not related to
him.
anybody." And
she's like, "Oh, but we grew up in a culture where learning was encouraged."
It's like, what happened to you then?
And Steve, what was Steve saying about?
His brother was.
Oh yeah, I've got Andy, my twin. Yeah,
it's his birthday this week. When's it your birthday, Steve? So Amy reveals that she wants to go to study business at UCL, which is University College London, I think. It's quite a good school. Tracy and Steve are chuffed until Steve realises the L stands for London. And Tracy's like, right, brilliant. I want to sell that flat, I guess you say. I want to sell the flat, or I've got the money from somewhere, and I'm going to pay for Amy's university. And Steve says...
Yeah, because she's kicking Billy and Summer out the flat,
But I think this is money that they've already got, because it's stuff
I don't
money
know.
that... So,
I don't know.
Yeah, money Steve's already earmarked. Steve says, well, she should get a loan. And Tracy's like, no way. Why don't we use Deirdre's money? And then they say, that's saved for a house. But I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I'm pretty sure that Deirdre left it to her for her education. But never mind. Then she realises that Steve looks shady, and she finds out, he admits that he is offered to pay for Emma's increasingly extravagant and ultimately pointless first wedding. Tracy on Friday tells Emma about Amy's ambitions, and Emma's all like, oh, it sounds so expensive. Oh, and she's like, yeah, it is. And Steve's got something to say to you. And then Steve's like, I've got to go buy milk, and runs away. Curtis's doctor, meanwhile, the one that saw him and told him that he's making it up, is phoning him, and Curtis is on the other end going, no. And the doctor's saying, you need to go and see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And he says, no, there's nothing wrong with me. It's my heart. And he puts the phone down on him when Emma comes in to start going on about the fact that Amy wants to go to London, etc. Then Tracy's trying to get Steve to talk to Emma and tell her that we can't pay as much as you said that we could for the wedding. She's got to rein it in a little bit. So in the bistro, they break it to her. Amy walks in as this conversation is going on and listens in secretly. And Emma's like, oh, I was going to have 5 bridesmaids. I wanted Audrey to be one of them, but I guess it doesn't make sense. So Amy joins them later on and says, listen, I want to go to university nearer than London because I want my sister to have a great wedding. And Tracy's like, no, don't let Amy throw away her future on a guy who might peg it at any second. And awkward. Curtis is looking awkward and a bit guilty because he's the one that's going to peg it.
Yes.
Curtis then goes to pack for his walk. Amy comes in and says, look, sorry about that. I hope there's no hard feelings and it's all cool and everything. And I don't really know what they agree on in the end, but it just seems really stupid to me that at no point has anyone suggested that Emma pay for her own wedding. All that Amy pays for her own university education, gets a loan like everybody else does. Mm-hmm. But anyway, and obviously Curtis hasn't got any money.
Somebody mentioned the loan, didn't they? And Tracy's like, oh, we don't want her paying that back until she's 50. So it's not quite that bad. But yeah, and also, yeah, look, I would say most students get a student loan. I don't know why she thinks that Tracy's so special. Amy's so special, though.
No, I agree. I think it's really ridiculous to have Tracy... I said this before as well about Coronation Street, is that it's got really mixed up and weird attitude to money and class, considering that all the people that live on the street are like pseudo working class, like acting like they're working class, but actually owning businesses and pots of money and like lifting cash out of, left, right and centre to pay for their kids to go to No, not many people. It's a very, very rare thing. I know that, we have a relatively low cost for university compared to America, say, but it's never been more expensive to go to university here.
No.
It's like $9,000 a year for tuition to start with, and that's how much ours was in total. So it is expensive, but it's a very small amount of people that can just pay for their kids to go to university outright.
I know.
And the fact that, we're supposed to think that Tracy and Steve are just like good old working class, proper salt of the earth northerners, I don't think so.
They're business owners.
They're very well off. And the fact also that, she's acting like blimmin' Scrooge, the, what's it called, landowner, when she's shouting in the street going, I'm going to evict you before Christmas. Like, she owns property and oodles of cash.
Yeah.
It's very weird. And then we're supposed to think that Mimi is actually frightful because she's buying party dresses and cakes. Anyway, Curtis is packing. Amy comes around. No, what? No hard feelings.
Then he goes off the tram stop.
Curtis goes off like, goodbye.
Emma's wrapped around him, going, "Oh, you're so brave.
Oh, you're doing so much walking.
Boo, you're so. Oh, I love you. Yeah."
Steve says he's proud of him because he's made his target for. Where's he gonna get this money from? Oliver's money.
What do you mean? He's doing his sponsored walk-ins.
He's not actually going anywhere though, is he?
No, he's gonna have to come up with some excuse.
I know, but who is sponsoring him? I assume that he's lied that he's got this money.
Yeah, he has lied. I think.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So where's this money come from?
I don't know.
He's gonna anyway. So he's.
I suppose nobody's gonna check that he's done it. Has he got to like take photos of himself at the top of each of the 3 mountains?
Well, you would think that you would do.
Yeah.
What would you say? Oh, I left my camera at home. So he gets his rucksack on his back and sort of walks into the dead alley at the back of the tram stop. That's how you can tell he's lying. It's not even connected to anything. Then he's standing outside Roy's, but I don't think it's supposed to be.
No, well, it's the back of Kitchener Street again, isn't it?
And he meets up with the guy who's a charity worker called something Richard, I can't remember. And the guy's like, "Oh, why have you got all this stuff?" And he's like, "Oh, he's going to do a talk about my condition and about how you can carry things with you, but you don't need to," or some kind of metaphor. Because it's revealed that he's not actually going to climb a mountain. He's going to do a talk. So I hope that he does not have this go online, because that might be difficult to explain.
I'm not finding this particularly interesting in the slightest.
This is just getting like really weird. Like he is not. This is where again they're confusing two different things. Factitious disorder or Munchausen's with like being a compulsive liar or having some kind of weird.
Yeah, I would have said that up until this point, it's kind of understandable, and he's having to cover his tracks a little bit. No, not even that. It's like he's trying to find ways to explain his slightly odd behaviour, but he really does think that he's ill and everything. But I think the end of this episode today was the first time that we've out and out seen him purposefully mislead people. It's like, right, so you are a wrong 'un now, are you? So I don't know. I think it's even less likely now that once this all comes out, and I'm still thinking it's going to happen at the wedding, that he's going to be out of here. You can't trust him.
No, you can't. It's quite funny. I do like a good old compulsive liar. I think they make life more exciting. But I don't know what his end game is. I don't know how he's going to get away with it. I just hope that they don't put down a large deposit for any of the extravagant wedding proceedings.
It's going to be too late. I think they will.
I just think it's also really weird that everybody's super into the idea, well, apart from Tracy, that Emma needs a really expensive wedding.
Well, I mean, you might as well, because he's going to be dropped dead any minute, so you might as well spend all the money on him that you would have spent him for the rest of his life now.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
I think you should have the wedding you can afford and want. I know.
Also, don't get married 6 months after you meet somebody. Maybe spend a little time to save up.
Yeah, but he's going to die any minute.
Oh gosh.
I know that this kind of story also has a tendency to bring out of the woodwork the people who, you say, oh yeah, you don't have to spend a lot of money to have a nice wedding, and then all these people come out, they're like, we had 3 picnic tables and a pile of dog poo on a plate, and we're still married 25 years later, but I hate his guts. Like, have a nice wedding if you can afford it. We had a nice wedding, but the thing is that we never looked at other people's weddings and went, oh, did we? I've got no idea what anyone else spent on their wedding. I never went to anybody else's wedding. I didn't look up people's weddings. I just had what wedding I wanted and you wanted.
We put it in a spreadsheet and made sure we didn't spend over what we needed.
Yeah, that's what we did. We went, how much money have you got? Well, in that case, this is the budget for stationery or whatever. Not like, oh, we must have this thing, or let's just write it on the back of a receipt and send it out.
Right, we're moving on. Grace period over now.
Aww.
So Monday, the Baileys are there with Adam. They've decided, right, we need to make it so that Grace is gonna relinquish her daughter to us and no takesies backsies. And Adam's like, oh yeah, I can make a letter about that. Just give me an hour.
Backsies adoption letter. I've got loads of those.
I can knock one of those lackady splat. And he does. He comes home. He's got the letter later. Ed's managed to get himself 20 grand in a brown envelope. Aggie's heartbroken by the whole thing, but Aggie is glad just to see the back. Ed, sorry, is glad to see the back of Grace.
Just called him Aggie.
Aggie.
That's their shipping name. Aggie.
So if Aggie was their shipping name, and went the story when Michael and James were conceived, Aggie bread. So Grace comes over later. She takes the money. She's a bit teary. She doesn't really want to leave Grace, but she really isn't that into being a mum, basically. Aggie gives her a chance to say goodbye to Glory properly, and Grace blubs, oh, I don't think so. I just want you to make her happy.
Aww,
and then she kind of sobs off. I did a little bit. I know she's made naughty. Some bad choices. But she got a bit of a rough exit, really. Michael chases her off to the tram station because he comes home later, finds out about it, goes off to her, and he says, oh, you can't just leave it like this. Is this me mum that did this? And she's like, no, it's my decision. It's for the best. Get on with your life. And then that was it. That was the last we got to see of her. And back at home, Ed and Aggie are saying to Michael, look, this is for the best. And he's saying that they're pleased that Grace is gone. So Wednesday, there's not really much that's happened. Michael's just struggling with being a single
It
dad,
becomes
isn't he?
apparent at this point
He's
that
not done
Michael
much
has
parenting
literally
up to this point.
never been left alone overnight with his own daughter, which I think was a massive miscalculation on the part of Ed and Aggie, that they thought that he was that. I mean, he's a really great dad and everything, but he definitely felt like the sort of dad who was a babysitting dad. And I think we had the conversation on our Facebook group before about the fact that the phrase babysitting his daughter was used to describe what Michael was up to. And it's like, no.
So he's got a rude awakening now.
He's obviously a good hands-off dad, but can he actually cope with the realities of having to look at... And obviously the sad thing is that Glory doesn't know where Grace has gone, and she misses her. No matter how good of or bad of a mum Grace was to Glory doesn't know any better, and she misses her because she's used to having, the scent and the appearance of her mum, and and the cuddles and everything, and being fed. And Michael he's obviously a bit of a stranger to her. I don't know. It was very damning, I thought.
But they did have a really nice scene at the end of Wednesday's episode.
Yeah, they did.
There was just like a little 20-second scene or whatever with a lullaby playing on the mobile, and she's in the cot, and he's like saying, "Oh, your mum still loves you."
Well, because he finds out about what Grace had done.
Yeah. He finds that out,
and they show him the letter and say she's never coming back.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, even though he knows what Grace has done, he's not like, it's just you and me now, Glory, your horrible mother's left and she's never coming back. He's being really decent, and he's not making her mum a villain.
Yeah.
And he's trying his bestest, but I just do worry.
Do you think that Aggie did the right thing? Getting this letter, getting rid of Grace.
Well, Aggie.
And Aggie. Do you think that Ed and Aggie did the right thing here?
I don't know that I think they could have got away with haggling a bit more. I don't know. I think it's the right thing. If you're not fit to be a parent.
But you can have parenting classes and things. I just felt that she went very quickly from being a parent to being a terrible parent to leaving.
I do think I felt a bit like she got shortchanged by the programme a little bit here, because she was saying, I can't cope with it, I'm fed up, and we kept seeing her dumping Glory onto Ed and Aggie, expecting them to look after her and babysit her, without any notice and stuff. But actually, the fact that Michael never seemed to have looked after her by himself overnight, because he was like, oh, she woke me up like 15 times in the night. I can't imagine what Grace has been through if she was being woken up 15 times a night and she's the only parent who's looking after her when she's at home, dropping your kid off for, an evening here and there, even if it's every evening and a night. If you're going home and you're the only parent looking after this baby, you are going to brown out really quickly.
Yeah.
How on earth are you supposed to do it by yourself? It's stupid. This modern idea that we have that, you're supposed to do it yourself or pay for somebody, and if you can't pay, tough. It's not right. This isn't how humans used to live, surely. We used to look after each other's children.
Well, maybe Michael's going to be cracking out the old Glory cam before we know it.
Boozing off
Grace
down.
was onto something there.
Oh, I just feel really sorry for Grace. I think that she's been screwed over.
Yeah, she was an all right character, wasn't she?
I just don't see the problem. She literally said, "Oh look, I'm not coping with this. I need some help."
I know that she was a bit of a manipulator and everything.
She was a horrible blackmailing bitch.
She was. she did make Michael think for quite a long time that Tiana was his daughter when actually she wasn't.
I do feel a little bit like the Baileys have been a bit arseholey here with her, and I know this is going to be really controversial, and we're not supposed to. Because you know what I'm like. I'm always contrary. I cannot help myself because I'm a Libra. But I feel like she got shafted here because they're acting like we're giving you all the help. We're doing everything we can for you, and you just take. Like they're giving her somewhere to live. She said, she came to them and said, I'm moving because I've not got anywhere to live and I haven't got a job, so I'm going to go live with my family. Where I've got support and somewhere to live. And they went, no, you can't, you mustn't, you have to stay here. And then they gave her somewhere to live and they gave her some money and they look after the kid every now and then. But she's supposed to be forever grateful that they're supporting her like you would do if she was actually in your family. They're the ones that wouldn't let her move.
Yeah.
Michael's the one that is deciding that he's a great dad even though he's never had his baby overnight by himself.
Mm-hmm.
I just think, of course she went nuts and like couldn't cope.
I also feel sorry for her a little bit because I've got a feeling that she might get killed off because it's a case of the Kirsties,
I thought you said it's the curse of the Kirsties.
It's the Kirsty curse, isn't it? Kirsty goes off, leaves Tyrone with the baby. She's dead. Katie is there with Joseph, dead. Now Chesney's looking after him. It's it's happened time and time again on Coronation Street.
Yeah.
They want to get rid of the one particular parent. Natasha's just fallen foul of the Kirsty curse, hasn't she?
Yeah.
And
I think it was a
watch your back, Kirsty. Grace.
I just think it's interesting that you can frame this story in different ways, can't you? And I just think if you were Grace, you would have a very different perspective of what actually happened here than Aggie and Ed seem to. Mm. And as far as Michael is concerned, it came out of bloody nowhere for him. 1 minute everything's hunky-dory. He's paying Grace rent money for a place that it turns out she scammed off his parents. They've been lying to him the whole time about what's actually going on.
Yeah.
Bonkers. It's just bonkers.
Right, Gemma, let's round off this street talk with a very brief summary of what's going on in Sarah Lou's life at the moment.
Let me tell you. Friday, Sarah, I feel sick in the morning. Lady, have you got morning sickness? Sarah, no, I don't. Hang on, maybe I do. Adam, I might be up the duff. Let's do a test. Let's go. I
thought that was Adam saying that I'm up the duff. Like you were announcing it in a play script.
No. Let's go to the pub. Isn't it sad we don't have a baby? Emma, say ding. Let's go bang.
Yeah, they're gonna get an app that says when they should do it, shouldn't they? To have a baby.
Just say. I hope they have to do is say, "Gosh, this would be a terrible time to have a child," or Sarah needs to go shagging about. Then instant pregnancy.
I like how they have these long discussions about the importance of should they just decide, don't they? They're like, there's no. I would have thought that if people decide they want to be parents, they might not just decide it on a whim.
I think a lot of people assume that they're going to have children, and then it's just a matter of when.
Did Sarah think that she was pregnant earlier this year?
Because you couldn't find.
I couldn't find it.
But it kind of makes me feel like,
this has been mentioned before. That rings a bell,
but
it's as we've said many times, this is a couple that has been woefully neglected. Not that I'm bothered particularly in this case, and I can't remember very much about what's going on in their lives. So it looks like maybe Sarah is going to have a baby, or maybe she's not. I mean,
this is the thing: is this a story about Sarah getting pregnant, or is this a story about Sarah not being able to get pregnant, or is this a story about Sarah's actually got a horrible illness that is only manifests in the morning with morning sickness?
Maybe, I don't know.
Or has she got a dodgy pregnancy test?
Could be. We'll have to wait and see. Sadly, I fear that this is going to be a main story next week, and it's going to have to do a lot to interest me. Let's just put it that way.
I just want to say, if I was Emma, I'd be violated.
Why?
Because they made her inadvertently part of their shagging session by getting her to sort of like ring the bell for them to go off and bonk each other. Like, I've got no part of your disgusting, filthy bedroom habits.
It's going to be like a trained dog, isn't it? That when it hears the ding, it starts drooling.
If they ever tell, not that I can imagine that they would do, but if Emma ever finds out that she dinged them to go and bang, and they actually conceive a child and birth it to this world, if she finds out, she'll be like, "Oh, does that make me the godmother?"
I hope that Sarah and Adam haven't got any bus trips coming up, because then people are dinging the bell there to tell the driver to stop. I can't
wait. I'm sorry.
They'll just be rutting on the back seat.
Disgusting.
Okay, right. What are we giving this week's Coronation Street? Gemma, have you got any inklings of where you're going? Because
I like this. It's quite fun.
I thought it was a good week on the whole, but it wasn't a great week. There
was a leaving. There was a party with a dog cake. There was what else?
All the serious stuff with Daniel, which I thought for Wednesday's episode it was done very, very well. It was
so glad they didn't
swept
make
under
it
the carpet a little bit on Friday.
I'm so glad. But I'm glad it came to a swift end, because I was finding it infuriating.
No, I could have seen that for longer. I enjoyed Daisy this week. But some of the other stories, like I can't get interested in the the Curtis storyline. Even though I love
why?
Tracy, I love Amy, I like Emma as well, on the whole, but this isn't doing it for me. And the same with the Hash Job story. Yes, there was an exciting death there that I didn't see coming, but I just don't particularly find... I can't find Zeedan likeable when we're supposed to be, you know,
What
gunning
happened?
for... Not gunning for him, we're supposed to be supporting him. Alia I can't find interesting. And even Yasmin, who had a fantastic 2020, I'm like...
Stop being an arsehole to Stu.
Yeah, and stop being so dramatic about things. It's just not clicking with me, that story.
It just seems to me as though Yasmin's job at the moment is to walk around saying to people, I'm glad you're not doing insert thing you're doing.
Yeah, but there was a lot of good. But I'm going to give this week's Coronation Street 3 mulled champagnes out of 5.
That sounds absolutely repulsive.
What about
3?
you? 3. No, 3.5. 3.5.
Okay.
3.5 mulled champagnes. I couldn't finish the third one. I just collapsed in a drunken stupor.
Sounds about right. I'm going to give it 4 shades of teal.
4, that's pretty good.
I thought it was good. Like I said, I was hating the Daniel storyline because I thought it was going to be prolonged for too long, and the thought of being accused of something like that and having it drag on for months.
Yeah, I think I might. I don't know. I gave Mimi my character of the week last week, and I can't really give it to her again this week, even though she kind of is. I think that I might give my character of the week to Daniel, just because I enjoyed watching him so much, and I like how he was. He stuck to his version of events. He stayed relatively cool. He was very professional. I'm going to give Daniel my character of the week, I think. I enjoy Daniel.
I'm going to give it to Mimi again.
Well, you didn't give it to Mimi last week, did you? You gave it to
Eric.
Coco last week. So Mimi's now had 2 votes. And I don't think she's going to be back in it again, sadly, unless we're going to get this high noon showdown with Evelyn.
I think she might come back to take Phill away after Fizz turns her back on him to go back to Tyrone.
I do hope so.
Which, after all that he did, to just tell a lady that she's called Beryl, does that really counteract everything? No.
I'll tell you what, one thing I did think about that scene was it was a little bit cliche with her having the microphone there. That's that's been done before, hasn't it? Back in the room, it's like, oh, what? Everybody heard me.
Don't take microphones. And it's a good job that she didn't say, Tyrone, I can't. I have to go to the toilet.
I mean, I know that nothing in soap is original these days because it's all been done at some point in the various soaps over the past 60 years.
What can you do?
Yeah, I felt that was a little bit cliche, but I didn't mind because I was enjoying watching the scenes anyway. So that is it for this week's Street Talk.